And there's a particular model that would be associated with that sort of structure that I'll come on to in a little while, which is a lot more around the methodology stuff of HR, really. Dominic's already mentioned that he works within a shared service model, and that's probably the most common way of operating, an HR function these days. There's a clear understanding with businesses at the moment that if you put certain functions at the centre of the business that all aspects of the business require, it's hugely beneficial, because then all the other aspects and all the other elements of the business can draw from that shared service and from that function. And quite usually you might find that those shared services are all under one roof. So you would have a shared service centre. And as I say, HR, IT, finance, and in my organisation's case, it's distribution as well, because of what we do. It's really important that our distribution centre sits in the middle of the business. So with regards to kind of HR being part of that shared service model, it would mean that HR would service every aspect of the business. So for example, sales, marketing, perhaps your buying team, your manufacturing warehouses, you might have several, you might just have one, design, supply chain, and many, many more, I'm sure, as businesses vary. That can be, as I say, it's a very, very common model, and there are a few advantages with that. As I say, it would be embedded within the business, so understands the business, very aligned to the different functions of the business and knowing where everything's going. And can work closer with the organisation from that aspect. However, there are still disadvantages of that structure, and I think as you probably progress through your careers, you might sort of recognise those themes for yourselves. So as businesses grow, and businesses such as Rolls-Royce also have a shared service model, that shared service model can mean that they can become quite separated from the business. And they very much only get involved when they absolutely need to, because otherwise they're perhaps never brought into the loop. So it's really important as part of a shared service model for HR to be still very integrated, and I think that's probably why the HR business partner position is quite key within that model, because they will be responsible for going out into those businesses and getting involved. Where perhaps that doesn't occur, some businesses might still use the shared service model in a really prescriptive way. Yeah, I think it is really key to still have that integration within the businesses, and it's always good to hear that that's clearly high on the agenda for businesses that do operate a shared service model. So if we just move on to, just quickly before we move on to kind of a more prescriptive methodology of HR, if you just turn over the page, there's a slide about the Ulrich Model by David Ulrich, and that talks about, so you can see the colours are a bit strange, but you can see that within David Ulrich's plan, there is an HR business partner, there's an employee advocate. When they say advocate, they mean advisor, somebody there to support, offer guidance, change agent, so somebody whose core agenda for the HR function is to manage change and to manage where the business wants to go, and allowing them to develop their people and get their people to move with that. And then the HR process expert, who might be kind of the HR manager or the HR director, who is an expert in the field and can look at kind of what processes and what procedures are required to sort of direct that change. And I think it's, David Ulrich's model, although it sounds very kind of, it can sound very far away from where we operate today, it's actually very key to that shared service model, because all of those roles, as part of a shared service model, all of those roles have to exist to allow the shared service function to work effectively. So that was just something that, and I think kind of when you go on to the theory, and if you do go on to do your CIPD, that will be something that will be quite heavily covered, because it is really key in where HR is today.